everybody, and welcome. This is NBL Free Agency Market Watch. Almost said hashtag NBL overtime, but we're going to do that next Tuesday, Liam. I can't wait for that, but there is a lot going on as we head towards hashtag NBL 23. Now, let's start with the New Zealand Breakers. We're all excited to see them back playing in front of their home fans. And we kind of had this name on the radar for a couple of weeks, maybe even a little bit more. We were waiting. Officially, Barry Brown Jr. is a breaker. Two questions. One, how much do you like him? And two, why did it take so long, my man?
Yeah, well, it's been more than just on the radar. Like, he's been in the gym practicing with the Breakers for a couple of weeks. He's been a part of preseason. So it was just one of those kind of like administrative situations. They had to wait until the French team signed the release, signed the contract, put it out there about Hugo Besson, and then they could officially announce Barry Brown Jr. So he's well and truly in the mix. He's their shooting guard. So you go Will McDowell-White, Brown Jr., and then so on up and down the roster. I tagged him as a defensive-minded guy, 25-year-old. He's played in the G League. He's played in China. He's played in Europe. But I'm told from guys in New Zealand, like, he can actually really score.
Here we go.
Well, he led the BBL in points per minute, and they're going to be looking for him to be one of their top three scorers: McDowell-White, Jarrell Brantley, and Brown Jr. So that's their roster. That's their group. They've got the three imports with Derek Pardon in there as well, and they're ready to roll.
I can't wait for it. You know, it's been exciting. We've spoken so much about the fact that what New Zealand have had to go through. Breakers, and not just the Breakers as the only sporting team, but the Breakers in our league, and can't wait to see them get back home. And Barry Brown Jr. going to be a huge part of that. CG43, 2-year extension got announced last week. Extra 2 years for the superstar.
Yeah, good stuff from Melbourne United. Good stuff from Chris Goulding, the face of the franchise.
Absolutely.
He has won a couple of championships with that team. And look, that was interesting. You know, we knew a couple of seasons ago, they got the multi-year deal done to say, Tassie, don't even bother. Our man's locked and loaded and going to be with us here in Melbourne. And then people started thinking, I wonder whether that'll be that for Chris Goulding, whether he might just kind of, he's still obviously performing at a very, very high level, but whether he might just kind of walk out on top. But loves to play, loves to compete, loves to score buckets and entertain the crowd at John Cain Arena. And he's going to be doing that for at least another couple of years. I've
got to point this out too. Melbourne United, and we'll talk a lot about it. I think it's slated for overtime. The three guys, they lost: JLA, White, Dellavedova. I know our man Homicide went in the middle of New York, video face and saying worst offseason ever. Looking forward to that next week. But really, they have bounced back as well as a team possibly could, considering they lost three starters.
Well, yeah, I mean, they've brought in some good pieces. So this time they've gone with the three import route. I mean, last year it was one. So this is a very different sort of approach. But the key is Chris Goulding.
Absolutely. But he's always been the key, right?
And he's always been the key.
Always been the key.
And game 3 of the semi-final series, Josh Adams was great. Chris Goulding was the key. For me, Melbourne United lost, and the Jack Jumper fans will go crazy. They lost that game because Chris Goulding didn't play. So I talk about him continuing to play at a high level. I mean, he was all NBL second team the year before. He is continuing to get it done, and great to see him locked up.
Brisbane import. We spoke about this. Of course, so much has been made of the Aaron Bain signing and what Brisbane have been able to do in an interesting offseason. They have one import to go, and then all of a sudden you do that great 15, 25, 45 burning questions, of which is outstanding. If you haven't caught it, at NBL, jump on socials, and you just slide in James Johnson's name. What is this happening, or what's the story here?
The Karate Kid.
Yes.
He's got the black belts, and he's the, I think, is he undefeated in MMA, right?
I believe so.
And he's obviously an NBA veteran who's been getting it done for a long time, and a real personality. Look, he's a name that has been thrown around.
Don't give me that. Don't give me throwing names around. Where are we at? Is he the favorite?
He's a guy for which they maintain interest. Now, I've said that
come on, Liam, give me a little more.
I'm trying to give you exactly what it is, Cam, but I can't go any further than what it actually is. So I've been saying that they've been playing the waiting game. They have, but in the meantime, they had a contract out to a guy who's been playing in Europe, and that hasn't played out. So
Okay.
they're back, turning their attention to these guys that may fall out of NBA training camps. Who else did they spoke to? James Ennis.
Here we go.
He's signed up in Europe again, and that's not going to happen. So as they're looking at a few guys in the States, and one of those guys is still James Johnson. My understanding is the ownership group and the like the idea potentially of him coming in and playing small forward for the Bullets.
Now, you know what? That's what me and the Brisbane ownership, the only thing we've got in common is we both like the idea of James Johnson being a part of the Bullets and the NBL. I will say this. You throw Ennis's name out there, you throw Johnson's name out there. Essentially, they're not identical players, but they are that type of player that if they land on one of those guys who get squeezed out of the NBA late, it's going to be a high caliber player who ends up in that roster's uniform, Bullets uniform.
Look, and the other thing is, I mean, they have a lot of money to spend. I mean, Nathan Sobey's not cheap. Tyler Johnson's not cheap. Aaron Baines is nowhere near cheap to have on your NBL roster. So that puts the squeeze when you start talking about the salary cap. You've got Sobey and Baines as two marquees, so it can only be two imports. Johnson and who this player is going to be. So it's not like they have piles of cash to throw around and pull in whoever they want. But sometimes even in that type of situation, you can strike gold if the moment is right. And that's what they're hoping.
All right, development players galore announced this week. Is there one you're most excited about? Is there one you're really interested in?
Geez, you're right. They've been all over the place. Dave O'Hickey, of course, he's a talented
Absolutely.
kid. Teams continue to sign him to DP contracts because he's talented. Southeast Melbourne, Melbourne United. Now he's at Illawarra. I like the story behind Joshua Davey in Cairns because there's some Billy Bean about this from Adam Ford.
I mean, you know what? Is Brad Pitt going to play Adam Ford in like 10 years' time when we do the Moneyball Cairns Taipans movie, do you think?
I don't know about Brad Pitt. I can't remember the guy's name, but the kind of like Irish dude with the tats, I feel like he's probably more in the mix. But Billy Bean, because Adam Ford looked at his roster and said, what don't we have? And he said, we don't have offensive rebounding. We don't have like a Jared Bairstow who's just going to come in and get 2 offensive boards when I need him. So he said, all right, let me look in the NBL 1 and find out who is leading the nation in offensive rebounds. He's like, all right, that guy out west for the Lakeside Lightning is averaging, what is he averaging? 5.5 offensive rebounds per game. Bring him in, he's a DP.
Crash, baby. Good. Hey, look, and it is a cool story, as a lot of these development players are who get opportunities in the way of Hickey, been around for a little while and it's kind of bounced around a couple of teams as he tries to find his spot. But there's always good stories, and good luck to these young kids who get an opportunity. And then it might turn into a game at some point against an NBA team, because since you and I got together last time, again, rumor, innuendo, lots of talk about it, that Adelaide were going to head over. I kind of thought the fixture gave it away when Adelaide don't play the first 2 rounds, but they're heading over to play NBA. NBL is back.
Let's go. They're not just them either. I'm going with them. So
I thought you'd be on that junket.
Phoenix, Jock Landale, Torrey Craig, OKC, Josh Giddey, Usman Jang, and this stacked Adelaide 36ers squad's going to go over and represent us, and I can't wait to see how they go.
Hey, just quickly, Next Stars. Firstly, congratulations to you. I've known you 30 years. I had to find out on your Twitter bio that you are now the GM of Next Stars at the NBL, and I could not think of a role outside of the media that fits you so perfectly. But what can you tell me? What can you tell me about Next Stars? Because there is a lower number this year.
GM of Next Stars is still Jeremy Lowlegger. I'm the GM of Next Stars recruitment.
My apologies. My apologies, Kamish.
Involved in that kind of capacity. Look, this year, I mean, there's not much time to go. So that's unlikely, but keen to get involved and have a look at what could sit in the Next Stars space next season.
So I'm interested quickly. I know we've only got about 30 seconds, but interested that when you nearly lost that bet to the Breakers and you had to beg your wife to allow you to go to New Zealand, which you ended up avoiding, all I can see is European junkets in this role, Liam. So how are you going to do that? How many European junkets you got in the next 12 months? 7?
There are some high-level talent coming out of all kinds of places around the globe.
Love it, man. Congratulations. Hashtag NBL23, because we're firing up. NBL overtime. I'm so excited. NBL overtime back next week. Until then, see ya.